So good day everyone, we are the reporters of Group 4 and 5. So in this video, we will discussing the workplace policies and guidelines. So first, define muna natin ang learning objectives. So students should be able to recognize the importance and policies in professional settings. Second, understand the role of policies in promoting a positive work environment. And last, and explain how following companies' rules can help them in the future careers. So, workplace policies and guidelines, it consists of a statement of purpose and one or more broad guidelines on action to be taken to achieve that purpose, and it helps your place run or more efficiently. So, meaning to say, policies also help your employees know what is acceptable and what is not tolerated. Plus, they reflect your company's values, making it better environment for all employees. So, however, for your policies to be effectively, they need to comprehensive, inclusive, and well communicated.
Once again, good day everyone. I am Katrina Longcanaya from Group 5. So, why workplace policies and guidelines are essential for maintaining a positive environment? So, workplace policies serve as guiding principles that guarantee uniformity, equity, clarity in the way organizations operate. They create a positive work atmosphere by setting expectations, encouraging respect for one another, and defining boundaries. Also, policies assist reduce conflict, encourage accountability, and protect employee well-being by addressing issues like communications, diversity, safety, and ethics. In the end, this contributes to a positive workplace culture that promotes growth and productivity. And now, let's proceed to 11 sections.
A code of conduct is a set of rules and guidelines that outline expected behaviors, professionalism, and ethical standard within a particular organization, group, and the community. So it serves as a framework for behavior and helps create a positive and respectful environment. So expected behavior, professionalism, and ethical standards are included in this code of conduct. So first, what is the expected behavior? So this section outlines the expected behavior of individuals within the organization or community. It often includes guidelines on respect, courtesy, and cooperation. For example, it might state that members should treat each other with respect and refrain from discriminatory or offensive language or behavior. So the next one is the professionalism. So in this part of code focuses on professional standards of conduct. It might include guidelines on punctuality, dress code, communication, and conflict resolution. For example, it might state that members should dress appropriately for the environment and communicate professionally in all interactions. So the last one is the ethical standards. So this section outlines the ethical principles that members are expected to adhere to. So it often includes guidelines on honesty, integrity, confidentiality, and accountability. For example, it might state that members should act with honesty and integrity in all their dealings and maintain confidentiality when required. So overall, a code of conduct is designed to promote a positive and inclusive environment, foster trust and respect among members, and ensure that everyone is treated fairly and ethically. So let's now proceed to the anti-discrimination and harassment policies. So an organization anti-discrimination and harassment policies are designed to create a safe and inclusive environment for all individuals associated with the organization, including employees, customers, and partners. This policy typically include the following components, which are the non-discrimination, anti-harassment, retaliation, reporting procedures, investigation, and resolution. And the last one is the training and education. Let's now first discuss the non-discrimination. So, the policy prohibits discrimination based on characteristics such as race, color, religion, gender, sexual orientation, national origin, age, disability, or any other protected status under applicable law. It ensures that all individuals are treated fairly and equally. So the second one is the anti-harassment. So the policy prohibits harassment of any kind, including but not limited to verbal, physical, or visual harassment. So it defines harassment as unwelcome conduct based on protective characteristic that creates a hostile, intimidating, or offensive work environment. So the third one is the retaliation. The policy prohibits retaliations against individuals who report discrimination or harassment or participate in any investigation related to such reports. It ensures that individuals feel safe coming forward with complaints without fear or reprisal. So the fourth one is the reporting procedures. So the policy outlines the procedures for reporting incidents of discrimination, harassment, or retaliation. It typically includes multiple reporting options such as reporting to a supervisor, HR department, or any anonymous hotline. So the fifth one is the investigation and resolution. So the policy outlines the organization's commitment to promptly and thoroughly investigate all the reports of discrimination, harassment, or retaliation. It ensures that appropriate action will be taken to address and resolve the issue. And the last one is the training and education. So the policy may include provisions for training employees on anti-discrimination and anti-harassment policies and procedures. So training helps raise awareness, prevent incidents, and ensure that employees know how to respond if they witness or experience discrimination or harassment. So by implementing and enforcing these policies, organizations can create a positive and respectful work environment where all individuals are treated with dignity and respect.
So let's have health and safety policies. So it covers safety protocols, emergency procedures, and health-related guidelines. So what are health and safety procedures? So health and safety procedures are a set of standardized actions that detail every step needed to conduct a job safely, with the aim of minimizing health and safety risks to people and the workplace. So every organization has some sort of health and safety procedure. So these procedures are usually set in place to protect both employees and the general public from injury and harm. So why should I have an occupational health and safety policy statement?
So, health and safety legislation requires employers to have a health and safety program in their workplace. So, a written occupational health and safety policy helps define and promote an effective occupational health and safety program. Such a policy should communicate the employer's commitment to a healthy and safe workforce, be signed by senior management, be reviewed regularly, and update as needed. So, this document will assist in writing and applying an OHS policy for the workplace. So, I have here some example of health and safety policies. So, the first one is hazardous material storage and handling. So, sa pagtatrabaho, yung mga equipment na gagamitin natin and mga tools or materials na gagamitin. So, let's move on. Let's have the attendance and punctuality. So, it outlines the expectations regarding attendance and punctuality. So, what is punctuality? So, punctuality is the ability to be prompt and attend appointments on time and submit your assignments by deadline. So, sa professional na environment, being punctual involves planning ahead and making arrangements to ensure that you can fulfill your obligations on a strict schedule. This also includes coordinating your commute to arrive at work and start your shift at a designated time. So, para magawa mo yun, kapag malayo yung bahay mo, so para hindi ka malate, ano gagawin mo? Diba, maaga kang aalis sa bahay nyo para dumating ka sa work mo at na-start mo yung shift mo ng on time. And also, creating a schedule to attend the meetings, and also dapat pinaplano mo yung mga gagawin mo. So, merong iba sa atin na gumagawa ng checklist ng kanilang mga gawain. So, nakalagay doon kung ano yung deadline, kung ano yung mas urgent, ano yung mas important. So, yun. And next is, what is attendance? So, attendance refers to the frequency and consistency with which you show up to an event or commitment. So, like work or school. So, workplace attendance involves coming to work for your scheduled shifts and staying at work for your entire duration of your shifts. So, another important aspect of attendance is communicating with your manager and colleagues about any time off. So, your team can record changes to the schedule and rearrange responsibilities appropriately. So, this attendance and punctuality, napapractice na natin ito ngayon kahit estudyante pa lang tayo. Kasi, kailangan pag-a-arrive tayo sa school, dapat on time sa klase natin, 'di ba? Kasi, doon pa lang nahasa na tayo, napapractice na natin yung pagiging punctual natin. And also, kailangan, example na lang yung kapag meron tayong groupings, dapat kung ano yung pag-usapang oras, before dumating yung time na yun, is nakarating ka na, hindi hihintayin pa. So, ayun yung pagiging punctual. And also, dapat lagi ka papasok sa trabaho mo. Hindi mo pwede absent ka na absent. So, yun lang. Ayun ang pag-ibig sabihin ng attendance and punctuality. So, that's all.
So, the assigned policy on me are leave policies, remote work policies, and technology usage policy. So, let me start on leave policies. So, when we say leave policies, as labor laws, it is also known as labor codes of employment laws. enforce the fair relationship between employers and employees. One of the requirements regulated by labor laws is for employers who provide employees with a minimum amount of leave as a mandatory benefits. So, employees can always go above and beyond the minimum amounts of leave, but it must have provided at least the minimum amount of leave set by law. So, as per the Philippines labor laws, employees in the Philippines are entitled to several types of leave from work. Employees are allowed to take a certain number of days per year. So, these are the examples of leaves here in the Philippines. So, number 1 is annual leave. The Philippines doesn't mandate a private sector employer to grant annual leave or vacation leave. So, here it is known as SIL, or also known as Service Incentive Leave. However, it is a common practice for companies to provide this benefit and allow employees 5 days their 1-year employment duration with the company according to leave policy in the Philippines. So, typically, employees receive 5 to 15 days of annual leave depending on the employee's employment duration. Next is sick leave. So, sick leave typically ranges from 5 to 15 days per year. So, this is just, there is no legal requirement for sick leave in private sector, but most companies offer this benefit. Next is maternity leave. This is under expanded maternity leave under Republic Act number 1121. And it will be based on the health condition of both child and their mother. So, female workers are entitled to have 105 days of paid maternity leave. Next one is paternity leave entitlement. So, Paternity Leave Act of 1996 or Republic Act number 8187 provides paternity leave for married male employees. This is eligible. Employees can take up to 7 days of paternity leave for each pregnancy of the legitimate spouse. So, number 5 is parental leave for solo parents. And the Solo Parents Welfare Act of 2000, Republic Act of 8972. It offers additional leave for solo parents. So, it is qualified for solo parents receive an additional 7 days of leave according to the leave policy in the Philippines. Another is especially for women. The Magna Carta of Women or Republic Act number 9710 provides a special leave for female employees. Women who have undergone critical surgery receive 2 months of leave with fully paid. Service incentive leave. Employees who do not have rendered at least 1 year of service receive 5 of full paid incentive leave as per the leave policy in the Philippines. And next is bereavement leave, or typically offered to employees although it is not mandated. So, the duration varies and depends on the company's internal policy, but usually ranges from 3 to 7 days only. 9 is emergency or calamity leave. Some companies provide leave during natural calamities or emergency, although this depends on the company's decision. Employers in the Philippines must adhere to these leave policies that is stipulated by the labor law and ensure that their company's policies align with the legal requirements. Next one is the remote work policy. So when we say remote work policy, it is under the work from home concept that is acknowledged by the Model Standing Orders for Services Sector of 2020, which also state that an employer may let a worker to a work from home for a certain amount of time, subject to the limitation of subject to the limitation that the employer and employee may agree upon. Furthermore, if a female employee has returned from maternity leave and her job can be done remotely, she can ask her employer for authorization to work remotely under the Code of Social Security under year 2020. Next one is technology use policy. A disclaimer is often included in an AUP, absolving the organization from responsibility for a data breach, malware, or other issues. Statements about when a person is in violation of this policy and when law enforcement might be called in could also be included. So what is the purpose of this policy? The purpose of this policy to outline the acceptable use of company equipment. These rules are in place to protect and authorize user, and inappropriate use exposes to risk include virus attacks that compromise of network system and services and legal issues. So I just put all the example of acceptable policies about technology usage to be flashed in our PowerPoint. So these are the explanation about the policies that assign on me.
Good day everyone, I am Marco Sanayo, and today we are going to discuss about confidentiality and data security. At the end of this topic, the learner should first learn the difference between confidentiality and data security. Then, integrate the different tools for confidentiality and data security in the workplace. 3. Describe the pros and cons of different data security tools. So let's start. First, what is confidentiality? Confidentiality is the keeping of another person or entity's personal information. Next, the principle of confidentiality is most commonly expected in the medical field and the legal field. Because in the medical field, doctor only allowed to tell his or her patient's information to the immediate family, no more than else. And in the legal field, is the lawyer should not be able to exploit his or her client's information to the opposing side of the case or to other persons. And confidentiality may practice in our workplace. So the question is, how employees should handle sensitive information. Use confidentiality, non-disclosure, and non-competent agreement with employees, clients, and contractor to further protect your business. This agreement should be drawn up by the lawyer. So, as a workplace or the employer, before his or her employee started, the employee needs to sign in the non-disclosure agreement in order to maintain the company's information from itself or from within the company. However, if he or she going to fail to practice the non-disclosure agreement, the company has the right to file a lawsuit case to the employee, which may result to the employee's need to pay a sum of amount of money to comply or to aid the damage that he or she given to the company. Now, you have learned what is confidentiality is. Now, we're going to discuss about data security. So, data security, it is the practice of protecting digital information from unauthorized access, corruption, or theft throughout its entire life cycle. So, as we all know, the digital age, theft corruption, and unauthorized access is the common cybersecurity hazards now we are facing. So, um, through digital security, we can avoid it by using various application, paid application, of course, to protect our file from those cases. So, in the next slide, you are going to see different types of data security apps and its function, or where its application best to use. So now you have seen those application presented a while. Now you're free to explore more of it by yourself through online search, or online uh, manual browsing or online browsing to the internet, to figure out which is the best among the best. So as we conclude, confidentiality in the workplace practice to ensure that the informations or data should not leak to other competitor with the same nature of products and service provided. Then, the data security helps the information, data, and files to store and prevent it from losing, and to protect from infectious malware that may destroy the data, files, and information. And that's all my lesson. I hope that you've learned a lot. And see you next time. And God bless us all.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Richard Diaz-Vela Jr. and I will discuss the process of performance reviews and feedback. The process for performance reviews and feedback typically involves several steps. First is setting expectation. At the beginning of performance cycle, your expectation and goals should be communicated to employees. This provides a framework for evaluation. And next is regular check-ins. Managers should conduct regular check-ins with employees to provide ongoing feedback, discuss progress, and address any concerns. And for next is documentation. Both managers and employees should document achievements and areas for improvement, and also any notable incidents throughout the performance period. And for next is formal evaluation. At the end of performance cycle, a formal performance review is conducted. This may involve a written evaluation, a face-to-face meeting, or both. And next is feedback session. During performance review, managers should provide feedback based on documented performance. This should include praise for accomplishments and constructive criticism for areas needing improvement. And next is goal setting. Employees and managers should collaboratively set the new goals for the upcoming performance period, and building on strengths and addressing weaknesses identified during the review. And next is follow-up. After the performance review, follow-up discussions may occur to ensure that feedback is understood and provide additional support if needed. And next is continuous improvement. The performance review process should be iterative. If I got wrong, iterative, and with opportunities for employees and managers to provide feedback on the process itself, and make adjustment for improvement in future cycles. And the process of performance reviews and feedback is important because it provides a structured framework for evaluating employees, and also contributions, setting goals, identifying areas for improvement, and fostering professional development. It ensures transparency, fairness, and consistency in assessing employee performance, which promotes employee engagement and motivation, and also growth within the organization. Additionally, regular feedback helps employees understand expectations and recognize their strengths and address any weaknesses, ultimately contributing to overall organizational success. And yeah, that's all for the process for performance reviews and feedback. Thank you.
So hi, I'm Christine, and yung topic na napunta sa akin is about dress code in workplace. So, ano nga ba yung mga dress code pag nasa example is office, school, or kahit saan sa mga pinagtatrabahuhan nyo, pwede din sa simbahan, katulad nito, kung ano yung mga dapat na suotin nyo. So, magsimula tayo sa introduction. So, in the corporate world, first impressions matter a great deal. So, and one of the most immediate ways to make a lasting impression is through your attire. So, yung parang sinasabi nila is yung first impressions last. Kung ano yung nakikita nila sa una sa'yo is ganun din yung magiging impression nila hanggang dulo. Like, kunyari, sa simbahan namin is pag may nakikita silang tawag din, example na lang is sabi daw is yung mga maiikling damit, pag tinitignan nyo ng mga ka-churchmate ko is ayun, parang sinasabi nila, ala, ganito pala ito magdamit. Dapat nakapalda, naka-uniform, naka-mahabang top, mahabang baba. Dapat hindi nakikita ang katawan or balat sa katawan. So, ganun yung example. So, that's why having a well-defined dress code policy is essential for any organization that values professionalism and success. So, sa school naman tayo mag-sample. So, di ba sa school natin sa Marikina Polytechnic College is meron din tayong dress code na na-issue din nakaraan na dapat nating sundin. So, sa babae is yung dapat basa tayo sa color coding ng school, which is sa BTVTED is color blue t-shirt, sa COT is green ata, and sa entrepreneurship is yellow, and sa BIT is red. So, dapat naka-base lang tayo doon bilang estudyante, dapat sundin natin yun. So, sa pambaba naman is sa lalaki is pants, then sa babae ay pants din, pero pwede rin magpalda, pero dapat below the knee. And sa buhok naman, sa babae is dapat walang color. And sa lalaki din, parang ganun is walang color, then hindi siya blonde. And sa gupit naman, ay dapat nakikita ang noo, dapat ay hindi nakababa na nakatago ang kilay, dapat kita raw. So, next. So, dito naman tayo sa the importance of a dress code. So, a dress code isn't just about dictating what employees should or shouldn't wear. So, it's about promoting a cohesive and professional image that reflects the company values and the brand. So, dapat daw hindi na dinidictate. Dapat alam mo na. Lalo na pag nasa trabaho ka na. Sa trabaho naman is example natin yung mga ST natin or mga teacher natin. So, may nakikita ba kayo mga hindi naka-dress code na mga ST natin sa school? Di ba wala naman, naka-proper dress code sila, which is yung sa ST pa lang is sa blue na top, may uniform na rin sila, and sa pambaba ng babae. Sa mga teacher naman is maayos din naman yung suot nila and formal sila and hindi mo nakikita yung mga parang nasa labas lang ng mga tao. Kung ano yung suot ng lahat na dapat, ay ganun din yung suot nila sa loob. Next is, when employees adhere to a dress code, they present a united front, fostering a sense of camaraderie and team spirit that can positively impact morale and productivity. Moreover, a polished and appropriate appearance can significantly influence how customers, client, and business partners perceives the organization. So, punta naman tayo sa corporate world at sa mga nagtatrabaho sa example na lang natin is yung sa restaurant. So, yung mga waiter and waitress nila, di ba ibang waiter dito, mga restaurant dito is naka proper dress code. So, example na lang natin yung Jollibee and McDo. So, nakikita nyo naman, di ba, pag nakita nyo isang, kunyari may nakita isang employee, then naglalakad na kayo sa daan, tapos nakita nyo yung dress code nila, yung uniform nila, sasabihin mo, ay sa Jollibee ito nagtatrabaho, sa McDo ito nagtatrabaho. Ganun yung nakikita nyo, di ba? Na alam niyo na sa isang tingin pa na ayun na yung pinagtatrabahuhan nila. So parang big impact na rin yan kasi mas nakikilala yung brand nila and napoprotektahan nila yung brand nila. Hindi yung naka-uniform ka lang sa McDo pero sa Jollibee ka nagtatrabaho. Ano mangyayari sa'yo? Para may madededuct sa'yo doon. May magiging parusa sa mismong company na ano pinapasukan mo. Next is, in many cases, their initial judgments are based solely on appearances and a well-groomed, professionally attired team can create a trustworthy and competent impression. Next, ito naman tayo sa guidelines and expectations. So, guidelines and expectation is more organization of specific guidelines outlined in their dress code policy. These guidelines typically cover aspects such as, so number 1 is appropriate attire. This may include formal business attire, business casual, or a combination of both. Ang restaurant dito is naka-proper dress code. So example na lang natin yung Jollibee and McDo. So nakikita nyo naman, di ba, pag nakita nyo isang kunyari may nakita isang employee, then naglalakad na kayo sa daan, tapos nakita nyo yung dress code nila, yung uniform nila, sasabihin mo, ay sa Jollibee ito nagtatrabaho, sa McDo ito nagtatrabaho. Ganun yung nakikita nyo, diba? Na alam nyo na sa isang tingin pa na ayun na yung pinagtatrabahuhan nila. So parang big impact na rin yan kasi mas nakikilala yung brand nila and napoprotektahan nila yung brand nila. Hindi yung naka-uniform ka lang sa McDo pero sa Jollibee ka nagtatrabaho. Ano mangyayari sa'yo? Para may madededuct sa'yo doon. May magiging parusa sa mismong company na ano pinapasukan mo. Next is, in many cases, their initial judgments are based solely on appearances and a well-groomed, professionally attired team can create a trustworthy and competent impression. Next, ito naman tayo sa guidelines and expectations. So, guidelines and expectation is more organization of specific guidelines outlined in their dress code policy. These guidelines typically cover aspects such as, so number 1 is, ayan, yung appropriate attire. This may include formal business attire, business casual, or a combination of both, depending on the industry and workplace culture. So, ayun yung sinasabi ko kanina, kung nasa isa kang business is dapat naka-business attire ka. Kung ano yung business nyo, dapat nakakonekta rin yung kung ano susuotin mo. Pero naman minsan, may mga sinasabi diba tayong team building. So, paano team building? Minsan sa beach, minsan nagka-camping, ganun. Pwede naman iba, depende rin sa company siguro na pwede naman mag-casual tayo doon. So, parang pinapokus kasi ng team building is magkaisa yung mga business ng bawat isa. So, next is grooming standards. Guidelines related to 2, personal hygiene, hairstyle, and necessary choices. So, like yung sinabi ko kanina sa MPC is meron tayong proper hairstyle sa mga lalaki at babae. Sa babae is dapat hindi siya blonde, walang kulay. Sa babae, dapat black lang. Sa lalaki naman is hindi rin blonde, wala rin kulay. And dapat nakikita ang noo natin at ang kilay natin sa gupit. So, ganun din yung sa corporate world or business world na dapat naka-formal yung buhok natin pag tinitingnan natin. Nakikita nyo ba yung sa mga Korean movies, yung mga gupit, di ba, ng lalaki na kitang-kita yung noo dapat maayos, minsan nga parang dinilaan pa ng sinasabi nila, dinilaan daw ng baka. Kasi flat na flat yung galitaan. Kitang-kita mo kung anong dapat na itsura nila. So, meron din sa military. Sa military, di ba, dapat naka-semi-calvo yung ano nila. Kasi dapat hindi nakakasagabal yung buhok nila sa kung ano ginagawa nila. Ganon din yan sa mga restaurant, sa mga nagluluto sa kitchen. Dapat ay hindi rin bagsak ang buhok, dapat nakatali kung ano yung dapat na itatali para walang malaglag na buhok and walang i-complain si customer. So, mamaya, hindi kayo naka-proper hairstyle, which is yung mga buhok nyo nakabagsak lang. Paano kung may nakalagay na buhok doon sa pagkain? Di parang nasira din yung brand nyo, nasira din yung business nyo, di ba? So, next is safety consideration. So, certain industries or job roles may require specific clothing or protective equipment for safety reasons. So, ayan yung sa mga protective equipment. So, tignan na lang natin sa mga doctors pag nag-o-opera sila, sa mga surgeon pag nagsa-surgery sila is dapat balot na balot ang katawan. Kasi, ibig sabihin nun, para daw, napanood ko kasi, may napanood akong K-pop na pag ganun daw yung suot mo sa isang surgery, parang para maiwasan na kumalat or kumapit sa'yo yung sakit na, kunyari, it's delikado. Dapat nakagano ka talagang attire para maiwasan mo na rin na matalsikan, madikitan, malagyan ng kung anumang sakit yun. Ayun din yung pinaka-iniiwasan nila. So, next is number 4 is exemptions and accommodations. So, provisions for religious, cultural, or medical accommodation that may necessitate deviation from the standard dress code. So, minsan ina-apply to sa mga school. So, hindi ko lang alam kung sa mga business world is ina-apply din to, pero sa tingin ko rin naman. So, ginagalang din nila yung mga kung anong religion mo. So, nakaraan, parang hindi pa binibigay yung student memo nung sa school, nagpalda ako. Yung example na lang to, nagpalda ako na below the knee naman and hindi nakikita kasi I'm a Christian then. So, hinarang din ako ng guard. Sabi ng guard, "Ma'am, saan ka po pupunta? Bakit ka po nakapalda?" And yun, continuation is sabi ng guard is, "Ma'am, bakit ka nakapalda?" Sabi po kasi ay pwede naman daw po kasi nakapalda. Sabi po dun sa orientation last day, sabi ko. Then sabi niya is wala pa daw binababa na student memo na kailangan na pwedeng magpalda. So edi ako kinabahan na. Then tinanong ako ng guard, sabi ng guard, "Ma'am, ano pong religion niyo?" Sabi niya. Sabi ko, "I'm a Christian." Then, yun, sabi niya, kaya pala. So, siguro alam na rin nila na yung Christian is bawal mag-pants. Pwede mag-pants. Or depende din talaga sa religion. So, sa amin kasi is bawal mag-pants. So, sabi ng guard, kaya pala. So, sabi minsan ma'am, ay sa susunod ma'am, pag gusto mo magpalda, is magagawa daw ng letter, then ipapapirma sa pastor. Sabi ko, sige po. Pinakita niya din sa akin yung letter na ginawa ng ibang mga student na nakapasok. Then yun, nakapasok din naman ako. Buti naman, tinanggap yung reason na I'm a Christian. Buti alam nila. Next is, ayun lang, katulad din sa mga business, hindi ko alam kung ina-apply sa mga business kasi iba siguro hindi nila pinapagpalda yung mga ibang religion or sa Muslim, 'di ba? Balot na balot sila ng katawan. Hindi ko alam kung pwedeng i-apply yun. Alam ko kasi bawal talaga sa kanila magtanggal sa ulo nila yung dapat nagtatago ng buhok nila kasi bawal daw talaga makita ng mga lalaki yun. Themselves with these guidelines and adhere to them consistently. Failure to do so can lead to disciplinary actions or even termination in severe cases. Like yung sinabi ko kanina sa Jollibee and McDo. Pag yung uniform mo is naka-McDo ka pero sa Jollibee ka nagtatrabaho, pwede ka matanggal kasi parang pambabastos na yun sa company nyo. Pwede magkaroon ng mga mga penalty. Yun, mga penalty is pwede kang matanggal or bawasan yung sweldo mo, or pwede kang ma-suspend ng 5 days or kung ano man yung nasa policy nila. Fostering a professional environment. So, next is beyond the practical aspect. A dress code contributes to creating a professional and respectful work environment. Inappropriate or over-casual attire can be distracting or even offensive to colleagues and clients. By adhering to these dress codes, employees demonstrate respect for the organizations, their peer, and themselves. Moreover, dressing professionally can have a positive impact on an individual mindset and behavior. When we look the part, we tend to carry ourselves with greater confidence and professionalism, which can translate into better performance and productivity. Merong mga sampalis yung mga tao na pag unang tingin mo pa lang, hala parang ang yaman nito, hala parang ang professional nito. Kunyari, sino bang pwedeng i-example natin pag titignan natin na, ay eto, magaling to parang ito yung company ng ay ito ang company, ito ang manager ng yung mga ganon. Pag tinitignan mo parang ang professional talaga nila, pag yung tindig nila, yung suot nila, yung titignan mo sila mula ulo hanggang paa is sobrang professional nila. Parang titignan mo, ang yaman naman na ito tignan, mga ganon. Parang pag rin, kunyari example na lang sa mga teenager ngayon, pag papakilala kayo sa mga example lang to, pag ipapakilala kayo sa mga nanay ng mga jowa nyo, pag titignan ka ng nanay, tapos ka lang, may mga nanay na ayos sa crop top, sa mga maikling damit, sa mga ganun. Pag titignan ka, ikaw ba yung magiging jowa ng anak ko? Ikaw ba yung jowa ng anak ko? Tapos, bakit ganyan yung mga suot mo? Kitang-kita yung labas, kitang-kita yung katawan mo, yung mga ganun, dibang nanay. So, paano ka magsusuot ng decente, tignan? Depende rin sa nanay. Sa business world is depende rin sa mga boss nyo, sa mga manager nyo, kung anong mga dress, mga susuotin nyo. Yung dapat, para hindi ka tignan na parang, ay, eto lang yun, eto na yun. Ganun, yung dapat titignan ka sa, ayun, eto dapat yung kunin natin kasi tignan mo pa lang sa mula ulo hanggang paa, bagay na bagay siya sa pwestong ito. Dapat ganun kayo titignan pag nasa business world kayo. So last is yun, sa conclusion na tayo. In the end, it will define and consistently enforce dress code policy is more than just a set of rules. It's a vital component of an organization's commitment to professionalism, respect, and excellence. By embracing the following these guidelines, employees contribute to fostering a positive and productive work environment while also showcasing the company's values and brand image to the world. So, pag nasa business world ka, is dapat yung dress code nakakonekto dun, yung sinasabi ko nga na kung ano yung company nyo, para na rin maprotektahan nyo yung brand image or yung mismong company nyo. Dapat kung ano suot ng employees, dapat ganoon din yung suot nyo. Na isa ka rin ng mga employees, bakit ka iiba ng suot sa kanila? Dapat kung ano suot nila, ganoon din suot mo kasi special ka ba? Employees ka din naman. So dapat hindi kayong lumalamang sa kanila, hindi rin yung sa mababa. Dapat kung anong mayroon sila, ganoon din yung sa'yo. Hindi yung titignan ka, ba't siya nakaganyan? Yung mga kasamahan naman niya, kompleto sa attire. Ba't sa kanya kulang-kulang? Ba't ganun? Dapat hindi ganun. Dapat yung titignan ka, wow, ang ayos tignan, ang linis tignan. Na, kunyari, isa restaurant. Diba dapat importante naman talaga kasi yung dress code, pag titignan ka, wow, ang linis tignan. Siguro pag sa uniform pa lang is makikita nila, siguro masarap ang pagkain nito. Siguro maganda yung service dito. Kasi pag tinignan mo pa lang yung mga tauhan nila, is parang masasarapan ka na, mahihikayat ka na kumain sa isang resto or pwedeng mahihikayat ka na pumasok sa isang business. So, ayun lang yung yung nabigay na topic sa akin is which is dress code. So, ayan. Thank you.
So, ang naka-assign sa akin is all about the social media policy. Ano nga bang ibig sabihin nito, and the importance, and ayun. So, let me read this first. A social media policy is a corporate code of conduct that provides guidelines for employees who post content on the internet, either as part of their job or as a private person. Social media policies are also called social networking policy. So, dito is naka-indicate na yung word na provide guidelines. Ayan, so, the first goal po nito is to set expectation for appropriate behavior and ensure that an employee's social media post will not expose company to legal problems or what does it mean? Ayan, public embarrassment. And ayan, so the use of social media has changed the way professionals communicate in many positive ways. However, it is also increased companies' exposure to security and data breaches. When we say data breaches, ito yung mga unauthorized data, no? So, regulatory penalties and public relation and backlashes consequently, it is important that companies provide a clear guidance or appropriate use of this platform. So, ito naman yung mga reason bakit natin, kailangan ng company natin ng social media policy. So, first is confidentiality. A clear social media policy can prevent employees from sharing confidential information, such as personal changes, financial data nila, basta regarding sa mga legal documents. Sharing information could harm a company's interest, from the word itself, harm, and competitive edge, as well as even lead to legal sanction or penalties. So, maybe ito yung magiging rason to lose the business or clients. So, it is crucial factors in many work environment. Lahat ng mga all of your future plans, so nasabi ko kanina, people information, customer data, yung mga record nyo, basta mga legal documents should keep it privacy dahil pwede itong magamit din ng ang iba pang competitors against you. Oversharing is not too good, lalo na ito ay legal document. So, sa brand reputation naman, while companies have their own social media accounts, many of their employees have personal and business ones as well. While companies have their own social media accounts, and many of their employees have personal and business ones as well. Those accounts can increase the reach of a company's brand. A social media policy encourages employees to promote their company's brand on social platform in appropriate ways. So, ayan malaking may tutulong na rin ang social media to spread the company's brand. Syempre, sa tamang paraan. And setting guidelines for what type of language employees can use and content they can post while representing their company. So, this can prevent employees from engaging in inappropriate behavior and to minimize the risk of negative publicity. So next is compliance. There are many state and national and financial reporting regulation that companies must comply with to avoid fines and other legal action. So a good social media policy direct employees on what type of content and behavior to stay clear of as not to violate those regulations. And next is the security breaches. Security, such as phishing are common on social media, and a clear social media policy lays out strong security protocols to prevent such attacks. However, if a security breach does occur, a social media policy can also dictate how a company should respond. And next is diversity, equity, and inclusion. It is a growing set of policies and programs that promote diversity in the workplace. Social media policy are often responsible for assuring employees comply with protocols such as bans or cyberbullying and using appropriate language. So, what are some of the examples of social media in workplace? So first is on-duty contact. So, hindi naman lahat ng oras lagi tayong pwedeng magbabad tayo sa social media, lalo na't nasa work tayo. Kasi maaaring it can cause of distractions and make the workplace less productive. So, next is security. When an employee is using their cell phone at work, they may connect to the company's Wi-Fi, leaving your company vulnerable to unwanted network access, or they could even cause a security breach. So when I say security breach, tulad sabi ko kanina, it is any incident that results in unauthorized access to computer data, mga application and network na maaaring magresulta na pwedeng ma-access yung information mo without authorizations. So in general, a social media policy applies to the following. First bullet is what company information an employee can share online, how an employee can behave online as a representative of a company, and how to respond to crisis or other issue on social media, such as supply chain crisis, and lastly, secure protocols to protect and respond to security breaches. So that's all. Thank you.
Good day everyone, this is Mr. Bertolata, and thank you for those past reporters that you have heard and watched. Okay, so for today's topic, in section 11, we were going to talk about conflict resolution in the given workplace or within the workplace. So, let's all define first what is conflict resolution is all about. So, conflict resolution means that it is the way on how you will identify, address, or resolve a given conflict in a workplace. Because we were going to talk about workplace or working area in your company or in your branches that you have in your work. Okay? So, ano nga ba kahulugan or kahalagahan ng conflict resolution or pagiging isang solver sa isang conflict? So, conflict resolution benefits is a conflict resolution skills will help you perform your job smoothly, productively, and satisfactorily. So, by resolving conflict that may otherwise damage professional relationships. So, kung hindi naman resolve yung mga conflicts is maaaring magkaroon ng damage doon sa relationship nyo between co-workers and you. So, types of conflict resolution skills that a man should have. So, ito po yung mga klase na yun. Yung una, nandiyan po sa may PPT is active listening. So, bakit kailangan ng active listening? Kahit papakinggan po natin lahat ng opinion, saring-saring kaalaman ng bawat isa. I-open mind po natin ang ating kaisipan. Number 2, empathy. Ilalagay po natin yung sarili natin sa lugar ng ibang tao at iintindihin yung kanyang sitwasyon bilang ikaw at sa kanya. Number 3, a positive attitude. So, syempre, kapag po may mga opinions yung iba, it's dapat we have to be open sa mga ganitong klase sitwasyon. And you have to be positivity. So, number 4 is patience. We have to be patient enough so that hindi tayo mainis o hindi tayo maasar sa mga nonsense argument ng ating mga co-workers. And objectively. So, we have to be objectives in a way na hindi natin sila pipersonalin at hominem sa laban sa kanilang mga arguments and opinions about sa given conflict sa resolution. So, now, we know that the benefits of conflict resolution is very important for us because mapapabuti nga po nito yung pagtatrabaho natin sa isang company. And then also, the skills that man should have in entering this kind of conflict resolution. So now we're going to talk about how to resolve conflict in the workplace. So this is just a short paragraph. Do not fear conflict. Use the following conflict resolution methods to help you manage conflict and suitable solution for all involved parties. So ito po yung mga 5 conflict resolution strategies na po pwede po natin i-apply in case of meron po tayong crisis sa loob ng ating workplace. So ayon po ito is we need to be competing, collaborating, acknowledge conflict, define the problem, meet on the neutral ground, let everyone have a say, determine each side in roles in the solution, and maintain morale. So these conflict resolution strategies is also connected to the type of conflict resolution skills na mentioned sa kasi is dito na natin is i-apply kung ano nga po ba yung kailangan natin para matugunan yung pangailangan ng problema sa ating. So maraming salamat sa panonood and thank you po. So bibigay ko na po yung station ko kay Miss Erica Ramos and kay Mr. RB Gonzaga. Thank you po.
Ang conclusion namin dito is the workplace policies and guidelines are the backbone of any organization, setting the standard for behavior, performance, and the expectation. They provide a framework for employees to understand their roles, responsibilities, and the boundaries within which they operate. Effective policies promote fairness, consistency, and positive work environment, fostering trust and collaboration among team members. By clearly communicating rules and procedures, organization can mitigate risks, ensure compliance with legal requirements, and uphold ethical principles. Ultimately, well-crafted workplace policies contribute to the overall success and sustainability of the business, guiding employees towards achievements common goals while maintaining a respectful and supportive workplace culture. Also, overall conclusion din namin dito is yung kahalagahan ng 11 sections na kailangan i-implement sa office or sa industry and also sa mga schools. Kaya ngayong mga estudyante pa lang tayo ay na-implement na yung mga regulation and policies sa mga campuses. Yan. Para magkaroon ng disiplina at kaayusan yung paaralan o kung anong workplace. Also na kailangan din dito masunod yung mga proper health guidelines para sa safetyness ng mga estudyante or yung mga workers. And also yung discrimination. Syempre nabanggit yun. Kailangan din ng maayos na community sa loob ng workplace para sa ganun ay magawa ng bawat isa yung trabaho na maayos at mas maganda yung quality ng mga works. And that's all. And for another conclusion, Miss Erica will lead the second conclusion for this workplace policies and guidelines. Thank you.
Thank you, Sir RB. So once again, I'm Erica Ramos. So to add some information about our conclusion. So this is our conclusion number 2. It's more about application. So if you know this 11th section, you will become a model or a good model to others. So if you will obey the policies you learn today, in the future you can use it if you become an employee. Even today, if you are a working student, this section and these policies maybe familiarize ka na, and some at point yung iba is nasusunod mo na rin. So again, this is group 4 and 5, and thank you for watching. We hope that we give a lot of information about policies and help you to improve about your knowledge in this topic. So thank you for watching, and may God bless you all.